Pan mythology. In ancient Greek religion and mythology, Pan is the god of the wild, shepherds and flocks, rustic music and impromptus, and companion of the nymphs. He has the hindquarters, legs, and horns of a goat, in the same manner as a faun or satyr. With his homeland in rustic Arcadia, he is also recognized as the god of fields, groves, and wooded glens and is often affiliated with sex. Because of this, Pan is connected to fertility and the season of spring. In Roman religion and myth, Pan's counterpart was Faunus, a nature god who was the father of Bona Dea, sometimes identified as Fauna. He was also closely associated with Sylvanus due to their similar relationships with woodlands. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Pan became a significant figure in the Romantic movement of Western Europe and also in the 20th century neo-pagan movement. Many modern scholars consider Pan to be derived from the reconstructed Proto-Indo-European god, whom they believe to have been an important pastoral deity, shares an origin with the modern English word pasture. The Rigvedic god Pushan is believed to be a cognate of Pan. The connection between Pan and Pushan was first identified in 1924 by the German scholar Hermann Kalitz. The familiar form of the name Pan is contracted from earlier, derived from the root, guard, watch over. According to Edwin L. Brown, the name Pan is probably a cognate with the Greek word companion. In his earliest appearance in literature, Pindar's Pythian Ode 3:78, Pan is associated with a mother goddess, perhaps Rhea or Cybele. Pindar refers to maidens worshipping Cybele and Pan near the poet's house in Boeotia. The worship of Pan began in Arcadia, which was always the principal seat of his worship. Arcadia was a district of mountain people, culturally separated from other Greeks. Arcadian hunters used to scourge the statue of the god if they had been disappointed in the chase. Being a rustic god, Pan was not worshipped in temples or other built edifices, but in natural settings, usually caves or grottos such as the one on the north slope of the Acropolis of Athens. These are often referred to as the Cave of Pan. The only exceptions are the Temple of Pan on the Neda River Gorge in the southwestern Peloponnese, the ruins of which survive to this day, and the Temple of Pan at Apollonopolis Magna in ancient Egypt. In the 4th century BC, Pan was depicted on the coinage of Pantica Pan. Archaeologists, while excavating a Byzantine church of around 400 CE in Banyas, discovered in the walls of the church an altar of the god Pan with a Greek inscription, dating back to the 2nd or 3rd century CE. The inscription reads, "Athenion, son of Sosipatros of Antioch, is dedicating the altar to the god Pan Heliopolitanus. He built the altar using his own personal money in fulfillment of a vow he made." Epithets. Egocerus, Ancient Greek, Romanized, Agokers, lit. Goat-horned, was an epithet of Pan, descriptive of his figure with the horns of a goat. Literius, Ancient Greek, meaning deliverer. There was a sanctuary at Treason, and he had this epithet because it was believed that, during a plague, he had revealed in dreams the proper remedy against the disease. The parentage of Pan is unclear. Generally, he is the son of Hermes and a wood nymph, either Dryope or Penelope of Mantinea in Arcadia. In some early sources such as Pindar, his father is Apollo and mother is Penelope. Apollodorus records two distinct divinities named Pan, one who was the son of Hermes and Penelope, and the other who had Zeus and a nymph named Hybris for his parents, and was the mentor of Apollo. Pausanias records the story that Penelope had in fact been unfaithful to her husband, who banished her to Mantinea upon his return. Other sources, Doris of Samos, the Virgilian commentator Servius, report that Penelope slept with all 108 suitors in Odysseus' absence, and gave birth to Pan as a result. According to Robert Graves, his mother was called Aeneas, a nymph who consorted with Hermes. This myth reflects the folk etymology that equates Pan's name with the Greek word for all. In the mystery cults of the highly syncretic Hellenistic era, Pan is made cognate with Phanes, Protogonos, Zeus, Dionysus, and Eros. Accounts of Pan's genealogy are so varied that they must lie buried deep in mythic time. Like other nature spirits, Pan appears to be older than the Olympians, if it is true that he gave Artemis her hunting dogs and taught the secret of prophecy to Apollo. Pan might be multiplied as the Pans, from Scola that Aeschylus and Rhesus distinguished between two Pans, one the son of Zeus and twin of Arcus, and one a son of Cronus. In the retinue of Dionysus, or in depictions of wild landscapes, there appeared not only a great Pan but also little Pans, Paniskoi, who played the same part as the satyrs. Herodotus wrote that according to Egyptian chronology, Pan was the most ancient of the gods, but according to the version in which Pan was the son of Hermes and Penelope, he was born only 800 years before Herodotus and thus after the Trojan War. Herodotus concluded that that would be when the Greeks first learned the name of Pan. The goat god Aegipon was nurtured by Amalthea with the infant Zeus in Crete. In Zeus' battle with Typhon, Aegipon and Hermes stole back Zeus' sinews that Typhon had hidden away in the Carytian cave. Pan aided his foster brother in the battle with the Titans by letting out a horrible screech and scattering them in terror. According to some traditions, Aegipon was the son of Pan rather than his father. The constellation Capricornus is traditionally depicted as a sea goat, a goat with a fish's tail. See the goat-like Aegaeon called Briareos, one of the Hecatonchires. A myth reported as Egyptian in Hyginus's Poetic Astronomy, which would seem, to whom? To have been invented to justify a connection of Pan with Capricorn, says that when Aegipon, that is, Pan in his goat god aspect was attacked by the monster Typhon, he dove into the river Nile. The parts above the water remained a goat, but those under the water transformed into a fish. Pan is famous for his sexual prowess and is often depicted with a phallus. Diogenes of Sinope, speaking in jest, related a myth of Pan learning masturbation from his father, Hermes, and teaching the habit to shepherds. There was a legend that Pan seduced the moon goddess Selene, deceiving her with a sheep's fleece. One of the famous myths of Pan involves the origin of his pan flute, fashioned from lengths of hollow reed. Syrinx was a lovely wood nymph of Arcadia, daughter of Ladon, the river god. As she was returning from the hunt one day, Pan met her. To escape from his impropriety, the fair nymph ran away and didn't stop to hear his compliments. He pursued her from Mount Lycaeum until she came to her sisters, who immediately changed her into a reed. When the air blew through the reeds, it produced a plaintive melody. The god, still infatuated, took some of the reeds, because he could not identify which reed she had become, and cut them into 7 pieces, or, according to some versions, 9, joined them side by side in gradually decreasing lengths, and formed the musical instrument bearing the name of his beloved Syrinx. Henceforth, Pan was seldom seen without it. Echo was a nymph who was a great singer and dancer and scorned the love of any man. This angered Pan, a lecherous god, and he instructed his followers to kill her. Echo was torn to pieces and spread all over the earth. The goddess of the earth, Gaia, received the pieces of Echo, whose voice remains, repeating the last words of others. In some versions, Echo and Pan had 2 children, Iambe and Lynx. In other versions, Pan had fallen in love with Echo, but she scorned the love of any man but was enraptured by Narcissus. As Echo was cursed by Hera to only be able to repeat words that had been said by someone else, she could not speak for herself. She followed Narcissus to a pool, where he fell in love with his own reflection and changed into a narcissus flower. Echo wasted away, but her voice could still be heard in caves and other similar places. Pan also loved a nymph named Pitys, who was turned into a pine tree to escape him. In another version, Pan and the north wind god Boreas clashed over the lovely Pitys. Boreas uprooted all the trees to impress her, but Pan laughed and Pitys chose him. Boreas then chased her and threw her off a cliff, resulting in her death. Gaia pitied Pitys and turned her into a pine tree. According to some traditions, Pan taught Daphnis, a rustic son of Hermes, how to play the panpipes and also fell in love with him. Women who had had sexual relations with several men were referred to as Pan girls. Panic. Disturbed in his secluded afternoon naps, Pan's angry shout inspired panic, panikon diema, in lonely places. Following the Titans' assault on Olympus, Pan claimed credit for the victory of the gods because he had frightened the attackers. In the Battle of Marathon, 490 BC, it is said that Pan favored the Athenians and so inspired panic in the hearts of their enemies, the Persians. Music. In two late Roman sources, Hyginus and Ovid, Pan is substituted for the satyr Marsyas in the theme of a musical competition, Agon, and the punishment by flailing is omitted. Pan once had the audacity to compare his music with that of Apollo and to challenge Apollo, the god of the lyre, to a trial of skill. Molus, the mountain god, was chosen to umpire. Pan blew on his pipes and gave great satisfaction with his rustic melody to himself and to his faithful follower, Midas, who happened to be present. Then Apollo struck the strings of his lyre. Molus at once awarded the victory to Apollo, and all but Midas agreed with the judgment. Midas dissented and questioned the justice of the award. Apollo would not suffer such a depraved pair of ears any longer and turned Midas' ears into those of a donkey.